The crowded courtroom fell into complete silence, so quiet that the anxious shuffling of footsteps on marble flooring could be distinctly heard. Every gaze focused on the young African-American woman who stood anxiously before the judicial bench. Her hands shook uncontrollably, not from any sense of wrongdoing, but from the burden of systematic unfairness that had pursued her throughout the years. Then the unthinkable occurred, an event so startling and degrading that the entire assembly drew in sharp breaths of disbelief. A police officer accompanying her struck her face openly in the courtroom, witnessed by all present. The crack of that blow resonated like thunder throughout the chamber. Her face stung with pain, yet her resolve, her inner strength remained unshattered. What remained unknown to everyone, including the officer who had assaulted her, was that within moments, this same woman would occupy the very seat designated for the room's highest official, the judge's bench. The battle that brought her to this moment. She was known as Danielle Rivers. Raised in a modest southern community, she was the child of a custodian and a cafeteria employee. Her parents labored relentlessly, frequently maintaining multiple employment positions simultaneously merely to provide basic sustenance. However, Danielle possessed unique qualities. She demonstrated exceptional intelligence, spoke her mind boldly, and harbored intense convictions about justice. From childhood, she would challenge educators when she perceived unfair treatment of her classmates. She would share her meals with children who brought nothing to eat. Her mother often reminded her, "Sweetheart, life isn't always equitable. However, that shouldn't stop you from advocating for justice." These principles remained with her always. When Danielle entered university, she had witnessed sufficient inequality to drive her lifelong purpose. She pursued legal studies, not for prestige or glamour, but because she recognized courtrooms as battlegrounds where human dignity and equal treatment could be secured. Yet her path proved challenging. As an African-American woman in legal education, she encountered prejudice at every turn. Faculty members questioned her abilities. Fellow students murmured that she gained admission solely through affirmative action policies. Internship opportunities were awarded to less capable but more advantaged candidates. Despite these obstacles, she persevered. She remained awake through countless nights, studying until her vision became strained. She maintained part-time employment to purchase textbooks. She refused to allow others' doubts to determine her worth. The confrontation in court. Several years later, Danielle returned to her birthplace, not yet as a practicing attorney, but as an activist, supporting a community resident who had been falsely detained. That particular day, the courtroom atmosphere was charged with tension. The proceedings had drawn significant media coverage. A young African-American youth had been assaulted by law enforcement during what should have been a standard interaction. Danielle, wearing simple attire, appeared not as legal counsel, but as an ally, present to advocate for the victim's family. The presiding judge displayed no warmth or compassion. The prosecution showed dismissive attitudes while the officers appeared arrogantly confident. When Danielle spoke up respectfully to address the excessive use of authority, court officers moved to suppress her voice. One officer pushed her forcefully. Another seized her arm, followed by the striking blow. The chamber became motionless. Sharp intakes of breath, whispered conversations, and rising indignation filled the space among the observers. Danielle shed no tears. She released no cries of anguish. She merely stood tall, raised her head with pride, and transformed the burning welt on her face into a powerful statement. At precisely that instant, a supervising judge who had planned to monitor the session entered the room. He witnessed the entire incident. The pivotal moment. "Stop this immediately!" the supervising judge thundered, his gavel striking with the force of lightning. He commanded immediate restoration of courtroom order. He directed the removal of the offending officer. Then something remarkable transpired. He addressed Danielle directly. "Miss," he declared, his tone authoritative yet measured, "you have demonstrated greater dignity and reverence for justice in these few minutes than I have observed in this courtroom for many years. Please approach and take this seat." He indicated the judge's chair. The audience exploded into commotion. Photography equipment flashed repeatedly. Journalists wrote frantically. Danielle paused uncertainly, her expression filled with amazement. "You want me to sit there?" Yet the judge remained insistent. Therefore, with each footstep creating loud echoes against the marble surface, Danielle approached the bench. She positioned her hands upon the smooth wooden surface, surveyed the room containing all those individuals, people who had questioned her worth, ignored her presence, and caused her harm, and she took her seat. For the first time in her experience, she was not the person facing accusations, being silenced, or pushed to the margins. She had become the individual controlling the proceedings. The consequences that followed. That single moment did not instantly transform Danielle into a judge, but it ignited passion within her and throughout the community. The event spread rapidly across social media platforms. Media organizations covered the account of the courageous young woman who was assaulted in court yet boldly claimed the judge's position. Public petitions gathered signatures,